Hey guys, how are you? How are you doing out there, my people? Welcome to the Create the Life You Love podcast with Georgia Woodbine. I am your host, of course, Georgia Woodbine, and I'm really excited about this podcast because it's really about, sharing conversations with entrepreneurs, people that are very successful, business owners, and basically providing you with the content that gives you like action tips, strategies, and techniques to grow in life and in business, because that's important, right? Not only evolving as in your personal life, but also evolving in your business life. So I'm so happy that you decided to join us, and feel free. We have a chat room to share your comments, to ask questions during the podcast. That's totally fine. And like I said, the purpose of this podcast is to share the knowledge, to support and empower you with the tools that's really going to help you to live in your highest potential. And of course, create the life you love. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube page. Remember to share this podcast and visit my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com. We would like to welcome our guest, Joe Baratta. He is the owner of Joseph Baratta and Company. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Georgia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great as always.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to have you. So, how are you doing today?
I'm great, really great. I got a little bit of a tan. I'm good.
Now, I know your schedule is like super, super busy. So, I'm glad you took the time out to be on the show today. And I'm sure you have plenty of jewels and gems to share with our audience. So, why don't you start out with a little bit about telling us about your backstory and how you ended up to where you are today as far as being successful in finding your passion?
Well, I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible because I do talk a lot. Everybody knows me, knows I talk a lot. Well, I'm not even going to get into how I got into being a general contractor, but I was a general contractor for many years. And my kids were little. We were looking for a home that had a separate entrance and separate everything. So my kids could be separate in the house, and anybody coming to see me in my business could just come to the house, not have to worry about walking in my kids watching TV or brushing their teeth or anything like that. So we were looking for a house with an office, and I called the realtor that was looking for me. And she just immediately tried to pressure me to sign a listing to sell my house. And I didn't want to sell my house. I bought it for next to nothing. And I wanted to find where I was going to go first before signing a contract, because I knew I'd sell my house in a minute. I made a lot of money on it, so I wasn't that concerned. She was showing me homes that were just regular houses. So each time she met with us, she kept sticking a contract under my nose. It was really getting me annoyed. And then finally, I just said, look, find me a house. I'll list the house with you immediately after that. She sent us 3 or 4, like really just trashed homes. We went to look at them and they were falling apart. I was really upset. And she said, oh, you're handy. You got a crew. That's what you do. You buy it, you fix it up, you sell it. And I'm like, hey, I know how to do this. I just need somebody to find me a house. This was not my area of expertise. Mm-hmm. So my wife said, you know what? Why don't we just get our hands on the book, which was the MLS, no internet at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up taking the real estate course just to get my hands on the MLS book that came around with all the listings. Well, mm-hmm. P.S. the office that I went to work in, because you had to work for somebody when you got your real estate license. Right. I didn't want to learn anything. I just wanted to get the book, crack it open, find my house, tear the page out, and go back to my life. Right? So I went to the office, and the broker said, the new book's coming out in a couple of days, so just mm-hmm. keep dropping in. So I decided to just sit there for a couple of days. It was only a few days in, and this older at my age now, older mm-hmm. couple comes in, and he said, you know what? I double booked. Can you take these folks out to see these couple of houses? So I said, I don't even know what to do, but yeah, okay, why not? I'll wing it. Let's go. So I mm-hmm. took them out. We went to see a house. And after the first house, the guy, I said, what do you think of the house? And he said, well, it's really nice, but the bathroom floor is cracked. So let's keep looking. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, let me ask you a question. You don't want to buy a $500,000 house for a $1,500 tile floor. And the guy goes, how do you know it's $1,500? I said, well, I do that all the time. So, I mean, that's what it would cost to fix that. He goes, oh, I'll take it. And he bought the house. And
Wow.
so I just went home and I just went, look how much money we just made. I didn't even do anything. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing. So I actually stuck around and I was a top producer. You needed 8 sales to become a broker back in that at that time, 22 years ago, and I made the 8 sales inside of 3 months. So I decided I'm going to get a broker license. And I'm going to work for myself. I don't like working for anybody. I've been self-employed for, as of today, almost 38 years. I've been self-employed, and so I got my broker license,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest is history. A few months into my first year as a broker, I was very happy, still running my construction company and selling a house here and there, doing well. And all of a sudden, agents that knew me said, "Hey, would you hold my license?" So I went from something that I only started to find a house to I became a small brokerage and I was independent. And now we're at 71 agents in my office.
Wow.
And that's
Wow.
22 years later. And we're a nice little real estate family. For a mom and pop, I'm a big company. For a franchise, I'm small. But for a mom and pop, I'm a big company.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure, like, I mean, that's your backstory, but I'm sure there were a lot of challenges that you faced, a lot of obstacles and setbacks. Why don't you share a little bit about what were some of the challenges that you faced when you took that first step and said, I'm going into business for myself? What were some of the things that you had to, like, really work through in your head?
Well, what most people do in their life is they look at their folks, and my folks were they were educated professionals, but they all had jobs. My mom was in the Board of Education, my dad was an engineer, and so their plan of life was you get a job, you get married, then you buy a house, then you have children, and you work in your job for 30 years, you retire and wait to die.
The
And
American dream.
yeah, I don't know, yeah, American Dream. And so when I went on my own, I had nothing but obstacles. I mean, I did fantastic, maybe the second or third year in, and made a lot of money. And my dad said, "When are you going to quit fooling around and get a real job?" That was the kind of support I had at my house. Anyone in my whole family had ever been self-employed. So
Wow.
they just didn't get it. I mean, they didn't understand it at all. And I just wasn't like that. I'm going to go take 2 seconds to tell you exactly what happened. I started working with my dad. I was maybe 13 years old on 8th Avenue, 545 8th Avenue. He was an
Mm-hmm.
engineer. I was sitting at my desk drawing blueprints, and I'm looking out the window. I'm seeing all these people walk by, and they seemed free to me. And my
Mm-hmm.
dad was sitting at his desk for 30 something years, the same desk.
Oh
And
my
I just said,
gosh.
"Dear Lord, if I have to sit in the same desk for 30 years, just kill me right now. There's just no way. I can't do it." And there is a lot of obstacles for being self-employed. You don't get a
Mm-hmm.
paycheck unless you really haul ass, excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
But the I can tomorrow, if I want to stay home, I'm going to stay home tomorrow. And I've never missed a class trip for my kids. And
Wow.
so some of the benefits of being self-employed, I was around all the time. And it's really interesting because my kids are in their late 20s and early 30s, and they still remember dad went on every single class trip. I was the only dad there, and we had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
It's so important that you say that, because I think, like, a lot of people would like to take that chance to start something new, but I think the biggest barrier between where they are and where they're trying to go is definitely the mindset. And as a life coach, I tell clients, you cannot change what you don't confront. So you first have to figure out what is it that you want. And I think that most people don't even realize there's two basic mindsets that shapes our lives. It's the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset comes from the belief that your qualities are carved in stone. This is where I grew up. This is where my family's from. This is end all. This is where I'm going to end up. And a growth mindset is basically comes from the belief that, your basic qualities are things that you can cultivate through work and effort. And I think that most people don't even realize what type of mindset that they have. And this is what's probably, holding them back from taking that next step. So, can you share one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about, one, getting into business for themselves, and two, getting into real estate? Because I think it's like it's really about how you think about things and how you materialize things. Can you just share what are the biggest misconceptions that you have with people getting into business and also getting into the real estate business?
I think the best tool that somebody can have is to not start with a job. I think that's the most important. Once people have a job, most people go to work, they get there at 9 o'clock, they know exactly what to do on Monday morning. Everybody knows what to do on Monday morning. They know what to do at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. They get a half an hour or an hour for lunch. They got to be back in their chair by 1 o'clock, and they got to sit there till 5, but they know exactly what to do. Somebody has already pre-programmed, here's what to do.
Mm-hmm.
When you're self-employed, you have to fill up your time because you're your boss. So that's the tough part. Most people think that real estate is a snap. And quite honestly, it is a snap. If you focus and do the stuff, I like to tell people the stuff that you're supposed to do. What that stuff is, everybody's going to train you differently, but you have to do it. And most people step into real estate and say, okay, I'm my own boss now. And they don't even know what that means. That means get your ass out of bed in the morning. Sorry. Get your butt out of bed in the morning, get up, get dressed, and go to work. Even if it means go sit in a different room in your house and start working, you got to do that. You can't just wake up and say, I'll dabble at 11 o'clock for half an hour. You have to treat your being self-employed as a regular job, but you have to set your time. We have one of the agents in the office. I'm going to be talking about that at my meeting tomorrow. What am I doing all week? Right. So if you're self-employed, you have a 35-hour week if you work for somebody else. So your 35 hours need to be book solid for your week. Otherwise, you're only cheating you. You're not cheating me, the broker. I'm not, my life's not going to change one bit. Right. But you, the agent, you're cheating you. And all you did was waste time. You might have been, if you didn't do anything for 5 months and say, you know what, real estate's not for me, you really think about it. If you went to your job, you would have been fired after the first week for not doing your job, doing the minimal that it takes to keep your job.
That is so true. A lot of people always say, when you say, can you do this or can you do that? They would say, well, I would like to do that, but I just don't have enough time. And what people don't realize, there's 168 hours in the week. So when people say to me, I don't have time to do something, I can't relate to that. I don't understand, because it's really about, what are you doing with that 168 hours a week? What are you actually doing with that time, and dissecting that time and looking at where you're wasting time? And, that's so important. And I think too, for people that's going into business, sometimes they have analysis paralysis. It's like, I just got to get enough information. I just got to get educated more. I just got to get more of this. I got to get more of that before they actually take that action and put their best foot forward and say, I'm really going to do this.
They're getting ready to get ready.
Getting ready to get ready.
Right.
So what would you say are 3 important habits to be a successful entrepreneur or a business owner?
Well, one I already mentioned, actually. So there's 4, but I'll 4.
Go ahead, share 4.
But the first one I already said: get up, get dressed, and go to work every day. Okay. There's I forgot who the guy is that said in the military, he said you got to make your bed every morning. It gives you an accomplishment immediately. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important to keep God in your life. So you got to wake up early. I get up at 10 to 5 every day. Doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. I don't care what night time I went to bed. I get up at 10 to 5. I get up. I have an inversion table, so I hang upside down for a few minutes and help get the blood in my head. I spend at least 20 minutes to half an hour talking to my boss upstairs, not my wife, the guy way upstairs.
There you go. You go.
The man up there, the boss. And so get up, get dressed, and go to work. I have to hold myself accountable. I learned a long time ago, especially with a family that was not supportive, that there's no safety net.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to hold yourself accountable for everything in life. I don't even want to say it that way, but for men especially, I know somebody's going to probably throw things at me now, but for men especially, there is zero tolerance for failure.
Mm-hmm.
Zero tolerance. I as a man, my parents are long gone. I don't have anybody to fall back on. If I fail, it's all on me.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to hold yourself accountable every day. If I
Right.
don't do something every day, like when I'm even on vacation, I feel so guilty that I didn't actually do something. It's hard to disconnect sometimes and just say, you know, I'm not going to do anything today. It's very hard to do, especially when you've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it for almost 40 years. Um, don't quit. That's something that is a really important habit. Don't quit. I'm constantly looking for new things, how to add to my education. And it's hard for a 60-year-old guy to have to learn. I just learned a new app the other day. We just did Linktree. Oh my God. That's a whole nother thing
Linktree.
I have to learn.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the list is gonna go on. There's gonna
It
be
just
more.
keeps
So.
going. So it's like, oh my God, I got to learn another thing. But you know what? It's good. It's necessary. Quitting is dead. I see a lot of people, they retire from their job and all they do for recreation is go to doctor visits. And so I have this expression, I said they're just waiting to die. Some people take 20 years to die, some people take 30, and I don't want to wait to die. I want to keep going, and I want to enjoy every day. So it's important. And then the other thing is, for to be a successful entrepreneur, business owner, you have to be a leader. You have to learn to talk to people. And as a contractor, I
Mm-hmm.
found that there were people that I worked for that never were in charge of anybody before. And so they're hiring you to do their bathroom or their kitchen. And
Right.
they think that being a boss or being in charge of somebody means you got to be mean and nasty. People don't want to follow mean and nasty. People
No.
don't want to be coddled either. They
Right.
want you to know how to do everything so they can come to you, but you need to lead. And if you're going to be self-employed and be on your own, that accountability and being a good leader is having people not hate you.
Right.
They don't have to come to your house for dinner every day, but they really need to respect you, and you
Absolutely.
have to like I said, I hold myself to a higher standard. Another thing is, in business, you have to know how to do everything. If you're the orchestra leader,
Right.
this guy waving the stick, I always thought that was amazing until I found out that guy's called the maestro because he knows how to play every single instrument
There you
perfect.
go.
So when he's telling the guy over
It
there
looks so
to come up,
simple, right?
it
But
looks like he's
no.
just swinging a stick around, right? It's like, wow, I want that job. That guy knows how to do everything. And that's something that if you're going to be in business, you got to know how to do everything so that you can actually empathize with somebody who's struggling in their particular position and say, here's how I did it. And
Right.
here's what I did to make life a little easier for me because I did that job before. You did this too? It's like when you have an old grandpa and you look at him and you forgot, or you just can't imagine that he was a kid at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's giving you advice. My wife's grandfather was almost 102 when he died. And
Oh,
he
wow.
gave you a lot of advice. My dad gave me a lot of advice. I just didn't listen to my dad as much. I should have listened more. A lot of good advice. And you take that because they've already been there. So as
Right.
a leader, if you've already accomplished a lot of these things, you can empathize and help people get to their goals because you already did.
Wow. Wow. And to segue to that, because I know like
Told you I talk a lot.
as I love it. I love it. We got to do another show so we can get some more stuff out of you, because I know you have so much information to share that people want to know. But like you talked about, like being in business, and of course when you're passionate about something and when you're working for yourself, sometimes you lose track of time and you get so caught up in your business. Can you share some tips on how you find balance between your personal life and your business life? Like, what are some things that you do to kind of keep you like level-headed and balanced?
One thing is, I definitely spend a lot of time with with my wife, especially. We've been married for 35 years. We're together
Your best
37
friend.
years. My best friend, yeah. I call her my girlfriend, and people go, "What happened? Joe's got a girlfriend? What are you talking about?" Yeah. Um, I do like to spend time with her. She actually got a real estate license about 5 years ago, so she
Mhm.
actually works here too. But I spend a lot of time with her. I don't want I if I was to lose touch with my kids and my wife and had $10 million or $100 million in the bank, I would see myself as a failure. So I want to make sure that they are a big part of my life. And then again, um, the Almighty. I want to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant," when
Mhm.
my time is up, and you're not going to get that if I don't spend any time talking to Him. And there's in Matthew 6:33, I believe,
Mhm.
"Seek ye first the kingdom of
Of
God," and
God, and all things
yeah, and
shall
then
be added unto you.
His righteousness, and all these other things will be added to you.
There you
And
go.
that's really important to
Yeah,
me.
I think that's awesome that you say that, because I'm a Christian and I'm a very spiritual person, and I think even in life in general, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter how much money you have. That doesn't really equate to you being happy, and I think that most people, they don't realize that. They think that money is going to fill that void, and you really have to dig deeper and find out like what you're passionate about, what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what makes you feel good, really. And then try to break down and say, okay, well, this is my skill set, this is my passion, these are the things I've learned through education, these are the things I've learned through job experience. How can I connect these dots and make it work for me? And I think sometimes some people get it sooner in life and some people get it later in life, and that's fine. So, you know, what would you say, like, how important would you say like mindset is to achieving someone's goals? Because I know it's crucial.
Yeah. Well, my if you don't see the end result or something, then I mean you don't know where you're going. You're gonna have a roadmap. Again, I'm going to get spiritual again. In the book of Joel, it says, "Let the weak say, I am strong." Um, you have to. I guess some people would call it affirmations,
Hmm.
but it's very important to see yourself where you want to be.
Hmm.
You got to keep that going all the time. You have to see the end result, and it's got to be clear in your head where you're going. Because if you don't have a map, then you just be wandering around, and then you lose interest. If you
Hmm.
don't have a direction of where to go and have the mindset that this is what I'm going to do. If somebody says, if you aim high, at least you'll hit something, right? And you gotta really have a target in mind of where you'd like to be. Even if you don't get there, I've found that I need to enjoy the journey.
Right.
More and more we look at our world and say, you know what? No, I'm just every day is a gift. I want to make sure that I enjoy every single day, and and still go on that course. I think one expression is you learn to dance. I've
Hmm.
done that in my office meetings. It's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Three
Hmm.
steps forward, 2 steps back. Because life happens, challenges happen, and you're like, oh my God, something happened, and I'm totally off track. And then you just got to start from the beginning and set a goal and head out there, right? And goals change too. They don't always, what I wanted years ago in my
Hmm.
life and for me is completely different now. I mean, night and
Exactly.
day different. As I'm getting older, I've gotten much more simplistic in what I'm looking to do. I could go fishing every morning for an hour, and everything else, I'm not sure what I want to do after that. I just don't want to retire with no goal, because I know George Burns lived to be 100. He
Yes,
had
you
he was
did.
booked till he was 100. Unfortunately, my dad was a brilliant engineer, and
Hmm.
he retired at 72 years old and didn't have anything to do.
Wow.
And we all watched him like deteriorate. Took 20 years, but
Wow.
it was a terrible thing to do, to just have nothing going on and just living. You know what I mean? Just
I know. I
and like I
know.
said, it's almost like they're waiting to die.
Yeah.
I hate saying it that way, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Why don't you share your website, Joe? Like where people can find you, like what's your website and where they can
Sure.
find you on social media?
Social media, me personally, is my Instagram is Joseph Baratta, and my office Instagram is Baratta and Company Realty. Our website is barattaandcompany.com. And same thing, YouTube, really easy to find there, scrolling across the bottom. TikTok, we just started doing some TikTok videos. I got 6 or 7 up so far, and they're fun. I can't believe 3,000 people see your video in 5 minutes. It's amazing. I'm still trying to figure out how to get business from that in the real estate world. If I was selling a product, that'd be easy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I know we're going to be closing up soon, but there's 2 more questions that I have for you. And one is, I usually close with my signature question, and that is, if you were to look in the mirror, what would you tell your younger self?
Well, as advice to myself, you mean?
Right. What would
Yeah.
you look in the mirror and tell your younger self before you went through all the challenges, the obstacles, the setbacks, the lessons learned? Like, what would you look in the mirror and tell your 10-year-old self?
My 10-year-old self. Oh wow. I was a pretty crazy young kid, but I took a lot of chances, especially being self-employed. As many as I thought there were, I would tell myself to do it even more. I would take more chances. I would go out on a limb lots more, because every time I did, it was scary, but I made a new accomplishment or a new success. So I would take more chances. I would say to take more chances. And then as I started out in business, I would delegate more.
Mm-hmm.
I took a lot of responsibility on myself, and I would probably learn to delegate a little more early on. I
Mm-hmm.
could have probably would have changed directions, you know.
Oh, wow, wow. So what's next for Joe Baratta? Like, what are some, like you said, you set a new goal all the time. You have like a new vision. Like, so what's next for you? Like, you meet this goal, you're successful in this area. What's next for you?
Next for me right now, in the future, I am planning on opening a real estate school of my own, so
Okay.
that even though currently I teach it at several different venues, I want to open my own real estate school,
Mm-hmm.
and something I can do till I'm 95 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, I'm trying to finish my book. I got a book that is called The Job I Like. I know we discussed it, and you said, why not The Job I Love? And The Job I Like, I think, to me, love is, you got to create the life you love. The Job I Like, first of all, it's a play on words because it's my initials, Joseph. My middle name is Onofrio, Job, Joseph
Mm-hmm.
Onofrio Baratta. So
Mm-hmm.
it's my initials, Job.
Mm-hmm.
and it's, I learned to like me, and I think
Okay.
that was the hardest part of becoming successful, is with all these voices in your head from the
Mm-hmm.
past of, this is not going to work, you're a loser, you're this, and all these other things. At some point, you got to realize that, you know what, I kind of like who I am, I like me. And the also, this career that I have in real estate is something that I like to help everybody,
Right.
because you get even if somebody has a full-time job and they sold one home a year, that's enough to at least pay for vacation,
Mm-hmm.
and have a
Or
free
more, or more.
yeah, or more, yeah, absolutely. But it's not, people get into real estate for all kind of reasons, and you don't have to be selling that 30, 50, 100 homes every year, like
Right.
the guys on TV, and say, I'm a loser if I only sold one. Well, if you paid
Right.
your vacation off in full from your
Mm-hmm.
one sale, I think you did really well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for joining us. Like I said, make sure that you remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast to as many people that you know. Remember, we all have the freedom of choice to be mindfully aware, to create the experiences that we desire, more of the things we want and less of the things that we don't want. We have what? The gift of choice. We can choose how to create the life we love, how to create the life we like, how to create the job we like. So, just make sure you share this video, listen to everything that was shared, because I can guarantee you out there, there's people out there that would really really appreciate a lot of the tools and the tips that you shared. So I want to say thanks for joining us. I
Thank
definitely
you.
want to have you back because I know you got more of a story to tell us.
Thanks, Georgia. I
So I
appreciate
would
being
love
here.
to have you back. But I just want to thank you again for taking the time out to be on this podcast. Like I said, remember to like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Create the Life You Love. It's all about sharing information so more people can learn how to create the life that they love. Thanks for joining us. We love you. We appreciate you. And tune in for the next show. We have it the first Fridays of every month. And I've been getting a lot of requests. So I think we're going to be starting to do it twice a month. And who knows, maybe 3 times a month. But because so many people are interested in the show and I'm getting requests, we may do it more often. So thanks again. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Joe.
Take care, Georgia. Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.